Obviously, pretty disappointing, when you come over here with high hopes and then you know that taking on a very good New Zealand team in their own conditions is going to be difficult, but we expected more. But credit to New Zealand, I thought they outplayed us in all 3 games. We fought hard at certain times, but we didn't get enough runs, and unfortunately we didn't give our bowlers enough to bowl at. But, we'll walk away with some lessons and make sure that we try and we improve on some of those areas. Those areas probably around adapting to conditions a bit quicker. I think Daryl Mitchell was a great example of what to do in tricky conditions. I thought he laid the ball off when he wanted to, and he attacked when he needed to. And I thought his tempo of how he played in tricky conditions was a great example of, for us, how we can improve in the one-day format. I think in Test cricket and T20, I think we've got our template and we understand how to play, but in one-day cricket we're still searching a little bit for that, and we've got to improve on that pretty quickly. We've got some talented players, but unfortunately our performances at the moment in this form of the game aren't quite up to scratch, and we need to rectify that.
Harry said the other day he couldn't quite put his finger on why so much quality is underperforming. I mean, I dare say you couldn't foresee James Smith, Ben Duckett, Joe Root making a combined 50 or whatever it was in 3 ODIs. Do you have any sort of idea on why that is?
Look, I think it's just. I think when we confronted with good wickets, like flat wickets, I think we're a very, very good cricket team. I think we play a high octane style of cricket, and those kind of conditions suit us. When the wickets have a little bit in them, they're a bit more challenging, whether that be spin or a bit of seam or swing. We probably can't quite adapt our tempo quick enough. So I think there's some areas in each individual game we need to find ways to be able to be better at it. I think we need to, I know Harry said before, we need to put pressure back on the bowlers, and there is times where we do need to be a little braver and put some pressure on the bowlers, and there's other times where we've got to try and adjust their lengths and their lines, and not necessarily in a high risk sort of way, but just by being brave enough to be able to, whether that's come down the wicket or sort of move around the crease, just try and get things going a little bit more and bounce off one another, because we all have very different games in regards to how we go about things in our top 7 or 8. But I guess that's what we're searching for at the moment. We need to find ways to get better at it. We've got very good players, but we need to just develop a little bit more craft. And once we do that, I'm sure we'll start posting some scores which on these trickier surfaces, which will give our bowlers more to bowl at. Yeah, absolutely. Look, Joffrey obviously had a little bit of time off. He obviously a little bit late to this tour, but he was training the house down in Barbados. He was doing plenty of work. He'd done a lot of skill work as well as fitness work, and for him to get through 2 matches, bowl his full quota of overs and build towards what's coming in the next couple of weeks is a big bonus. And Bryden Cast too, getting through the overs that he's done. And albeit you mentioned the Jamie Smiths and the Joe Roots and the Ben Ducketts, they'll be better for the run too. They've marked centre a few times and gone through that process again, and I'm sure they'll be better for it. And with the prep that we've had for the other Test guys who have been here for a little while too, we'll have no excuses come Australia.
From your last answer, you're not concerned that the mental sort of effects of this series will go into the top order team?
No, I don't envisage it will. Obviously, it's a different form of the game, and it's a completely different kind of challenge which we're going to be confronted with as well. But sometimes the process that you go through in regards to batting doesn't necessarily translate to runs, but the gain can come in time, and that's what we're holding on to anyway.
Jamie Overton's putting himself forward in this game consistently throughout the season. He's dealt with those situations.
Huge win for the tour, I think. I think Jamie Overton, I think there's times where we think he's a better player than what he does, and on this tour I think he's fully believed in the player that he can be at this level. There's not too many players around the world that can bowl 140, 145 kilometres an hour, field the way he does, and then to be able to hit the ball as cleanly and add the touch that he did throughout this series in tricky conditions. I think it's been a huge series for Jamie, and we're all delighted for him. He's incredibly well liked within the group, and to see him go from strength to strength each game is a real positive for us from the tour. Yeah. I think it's different across different formats, to be honest. I think in Test cricket we've found ways in various conditions to be able to deal with those kind of seaming wickets, but in one-day cricket, our tempo, we haven't been able to quite nail down whether we stick or twist at certain times, and I think that's an area, I like to try and separate. I think T20 cricket we're going really well. I think Test cricket we've got a pretty good template of where we're at, and I think we've performed reasonably well, albeit we've got a huge challenge in front of us. I think one-day cricket is clearly the area we need to improve, and I think my comments are more directed at one-day cricket. I think when we do come across the trickier conditions in Australia and Test cricket, I feel like we've got a pretty good understanding of how we're going to go about it. It doesn't guarantee us anything, but it gives us a level of confidence going into that series, which I'm sure everyone that follows this team and follows Ashes cricket is incredibly excited about what's coming up, as we are.
You say that you're very strong on flat wickets, and you could go into Southampton not just a few weeks ago. But is the best team, like in terms of 11 players, is the best team for a flat wicket necessarily the best team for a tricky wicket? And is part of the issue maybe reading wickets before getting started and changing selection?
Look, I believe these are the best players in the country in this format. Not everyone fires all at the same time, and there's times where if you have enough guys who are struggling at the same time, then you're obviously going to be under the pump, and I think that's what we've seen in this series. And I firmly believe in the group of players that we've got, and we know that in a couple of years' time there's a World Cup in South Africa in this form of the game, and I think I see majority of these guys that are in the squad are going to be present in that, and we've got to give them the time and keep working towards the combinations that you want for a tournament like that. Clearly we need to win games beforehand to make sure that we're in that tournament, but that's what's in front of us, and that's the things we'll be talking about after the series for sure.
And your ethos is a lot about not removing the fear of failure. Is that a test of your coaching when a player has averaged 3 over a 3-match series, 6, or as some of our batters have? Is that a test for you now to keep that positivity?
Well, it's not a test because I think I'm always positive. I think there's no point in being anything other than positive, to be honest. But I think there's times where you don't just look at things over a 3-match series. You look at over a decent period of time. One-day cricket is all cricket is. It's an inconsistent game, so you're always looking for a level of consistency, but sometimes it needs to be over a longer period of time, and you give guys more rope if you believe in them. And I believe in this group of players, and they'll continue to get the opportunities.
Take one more.
Being in charge of a high-profile team, New Zealand cricket fans, keen to know how you're doing heading into another Ashes series. Where that sits for you?
Excited, like proper excited. I think, for us, we're incredibly respectful of the challenge that Australia is going to present us. We know how hard that tour is going to be. It's going to require a team to stay together right throughout, to be as strong as we can at trying to block out any of the outside noise. But look, we're very respectful of who we're coming up against. We're so excited to get over there, and we can't wait to get started.